Good evening. Welcome to the Redevelopment Agency meeting. I will call the meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is public comment. Public comment during this period of time must be limited to items on the agenda. We are conducting this meeting in accordance with Emergency Directive 006, which was extended by Directive 016. So public comment may be made either by submission of an email or by calling in to 702-589-9629. The number again is 702-589-9629. Again, if you wish to make public comment for the Redevelopment Agency meeting, the phone number is 702-589-9629. All right, hearing none for the public comment, close public comment. And again, due to the emergency orders, the public is not available in council chambers for this meeting. We do have Councilman Adams and Councilwoman Folda here. We also have Councilwomen Hoskins and Bridges on the phone. And we will then proceed to item number 1 on the agenda for possible approval of the minutes of the February 11, 2020 RDA meeting. Any questions or comments from council? Okay, I'll entertain a motion then for approval.
Mayor, I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Item number 2, resolution number 222, a resolution of the Redevelopment Agency of Boulder City authorizing Redevelopment Agency grant program funding for the property located at 550 Nevada Way. Mr. Mays.
Good evening. Michael Mays, your Community Development Director. Anthony Scott is proposing to invest approximately $265,000 in the Browder building located at 550 Nevada Way. He plans to open a restaurant called Big T's Cantina, and work would include landscaping, ADA entrance improvements, as well as ADA accessible bathroom improvements, electrical work, the addition of a grease trap interceptor, and exterior painting. Of the proposed improvements, approximately $145,700 are eligible through the RDA grant program. How that program works is with eligible improvements, a business owner or developer can be reimbursed up to 30% of those eligible cost items based on the lowest cost bid that's submitted with the proposal and the packet, which is included in your material. With that program reimbursing up to 30% of those costs, that would mean that he would be eligible for reimbursement of approximately $43,710. In the fiscal year 20 budget, the council approved up to $180,000 for this grant program. So if the RDA board and the council this evening were to approve this grant, that would mean that of the $180,000 budgeted for this fiscal year, $107,925 would be committed to various RDA improvement projects. With that, I can answer any questions at staff level, and of course, Mr. Scott is on the phone to present his proposal to the RDA board.
Questions or comments for council? Councilman Adams?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I would like to just disclose right now that one of the bidders for this project was Newcastle Construction and Remodeling. That business is owned by Larry Turner. My wife was up until recently an employee of his for another one of his businesses. I did discuss this with the city attorney. He felt that it was appropriate that I do deliberate and still make a vote, being that they are not the applicant, that they are not in particular involved in this. So unless the city attorney would like to add anything else to that matter, I will be deliberating and voting on this matter.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilwoman? Okay, Councilwoman Hoskins?
Can you hear me?
Yep. We can now.
No, thank you. Okay.
Did you have any questions or comments, Councilwoman Hoskins?
No, I'm sorry. I said no, thanks. Sorry. I said no, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Mr. Mays, I would, if you could just briefly go through how the RDA is funded. You know, obviously we're in a situation here where the revenues coming into the city are predicted to be reduced significantly. How is the RDA funded?
The RDA is funded through an increment that is generated from the property owners within the district. The city's RDA district roughly incorporates predominantly commercial properties within the community, the downtown, properties along Nevada Way, and the properties on Boulder City Parkway, including the industrial areas of the community. When the RDA was created in 1999, the taxes that were received from the various taxing bodies were in essence frozen. So those taxing bodies received the increment at that time. As investment occurs within the district and increment is added above that base, that is pooled together and is used by the RDA board to encourage additional investment within the district. So these are not tax dollars coming from our residents for the most part. We do have one residential subdivision that is included as an example, that storybook. But it's predominantly from the commercial properties, and it has a 30-year life, so and approximately another 9 years to go.
It does result in a reduction in the property taxes that are available to our general fund?
It's frozen at that time in 1999, that is correct.
Okay, and these increments that build over time then that are dedicated to the redevelopment agency, they cannot be used otherwise, correct? I mean, we could not use them for paying police, for instance, or anything within the Parks and Rec department, for instance.
That is correct.
Okay. And we do have the applicant on the phone, is that correct? Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
we're conducting the RDA meeting.
Okay.
Can you hear?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Mr. Scott, this is Mayor McManus. I just had a couple of questions for you. You know, obviously, we're faced with an economic situation that's at least uncertain. How do you feel about going forward with this project at this time?
I'm fully committed on this project.
When do you anticipate completion date on this?
I'm trying to have an opening date of sometime in September.
Okay. Now, you are leasing this building from, I believe it's Dan Fox, is that correct?
That is correct. I have
Okay.
a 10-year lease with a 10-year behind it.
All right. Any other questions or comments for the applicant? Councilwoman Bridges?
I do not have any questions, no.
Councilwoman Hoskins?
I have no questions, thank you.
Councilman Adams?
Yeah, actually, I did have one question. It was noted in here that you were made aware of the, sorry, there's a little bit of an echo, of the historic preservation RDA that we recently approved of, but it does seem as though you were not interested in taking that. Obviously, the historicity of this building is very important. Was there a particular reason why that the historic preservation RDA grant, which does allow for additional refunding, did not seem this did not seem like the more appropriate choice considering the historic importance of this building?
Well, I had already spent about 4 months preparing and getting my proposals and my plans and everything together for the RDA development money, and the historic was just released. I just got it a couple weeks ago with all of the requirements and everything, and I was already committed to this. And my time frame, if I go back, my September dates gets pushed out to October, November, and even December. So I was going to move forward with the RDA. My intention is to keep as much of the historic. I'm not going to change the outside of the building. That's why I fell in love with the building the way it is. But inside, I'm doing 100%, 100% new plumbing, 100% new electrical, and trying to bring it up to code without ruining the look and the historic value that it does have. So I'm keeping the plaster walls. I've got plaster coming in and going to replaster so that I can keep that look and that style.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you are hoping to respect and appreciate the historical value that building does offer us.
Absolutely.
And again, this is Mayor McManus. I just wanted to follow on with that too, that, that building was the first privately owned commercial building in Boulder City and has, quite a bit of significance as far as the start of the downtown area. So I'm also very pleased that you recognize the significance of it and plan to work with what is there to bring that building back into use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll entertain a motion then on Resolution 222.
I move that we approve Resolution 222.
Could you please repeat, Councilwoman Bridges?
I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 222.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll move then to the third item on the agenda. Possible action, review of the RDA guidelines, including eligibility requirements and possible staff directive for the Redevelopment Agency grant program. Mr. Mays.
So at the request of a couple of board members, they wanted the opportunity to reevaluate the guidelines and what types of improvements that are eligible and not eligible with respect to the RDA grant improvement program. So what staff has done is put together some background information for the RDA board to evaluate. It includes the original 1999 plan as background. It also includes a resolution that was approved in 2006, the last time the RDA board evaluated specifically the guidelines and eligible and ineligible improvements with respect to this grant program. And I just wanted to provide some additional background information on the purpose of RDAs to help with the evaluation of the RDA board. Older areas of a community can be passed over and neglected when newer buildings are available. In many cases, outdated infrastructure, electrical, and life safety requirements can add significant costs to older building repurposing and renovations. This can result in blighted conditions with disinvestment in older parts of a community. RDA are one of the tools provided to Nevada municipalities to level the playing field. By providing tax dollars collected within the RDA district, it can help to incentivize property and business owners to reinvest in the older parts of the community, to discourage growth by attracting investment in vacant existing buildings. In the long run, the property owners, the city, and the other taxing bodies benefit from the increase in the property values that result in the investment and the use of the existing structures within the community. And so that just provides some additional background. Can certainly answer any questions you may have regarding the program guidelines.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Member Folda in this case.
Thank you. Yes, we're board now. Okay. So this is one of the items that I wanted to be brought forward. As we were going through the new historic RDA plan, we were really able to go through and discuss line by line kind of and dive into what's eligible, what's not eligible, what's the purpose of this, and what's really the heart of why we have it. Back, I don't know when this was made, the original plan I think is 1999 or sometime during that 90s. And I asked that this be part of the attachment because we do have this RDA plan, which is kind of the background, the why of why we have RDA and what's the purpose. And I think along the lines, RDA has kind of fluctuated in its goals and its focus. And so I just wanted to highlight the original plan, give the board the opportunity to read it, because it was hard to find. In fact, I had to confirm with Madam Secretary Clerk if this was in fact the actual plan. It's a little bit buried. So I wanted to highlight what it is, that it's more than just eliminating the spread of blight. And this is from the plan itself. It also, the goals that it also has is to achieve an environment reflecting a high level of concern for architecture, landscape, and urban design, minimize unplanned growth by guiding revitalization activity, regain existing businesses by means of redevelopment and rehabilitation, encourage investment by the private sector in the development, and to encourage maximum participation of residents, business persons, property owners, and community organizations in the redevelopment. to replan, redesign, and redevelop areas which are stagnant or improperly used. So it's more than just, this business wants to fix the front of its building. And that, I haven't really seen, at least in the short time I've been in Boulder City, a real discussion by the board of any goals that they want to have. It's kind of a reaction, kind of a board is what I've seen, that an applicant comes with something and we discuss that applicant's case, but we never really talk about what's going forward in the future. And as we're talking about, and especially with historic development, and for instance, another issue that came up today, right? We have an applicant who applied for RDA, is in the middle of RDA process. What's the process if they realizes, oh, I would actually like to do the historic process through the RDA? Do I have to start all over, or can we start where we're at and continue and have it changed that way? So I think we need to have that discussion of how that's handled, because if there's someone who does want to keep a building historic and but didn't apply for whatever reason, this one, it wasn't existing at the time, so I could see why that happened, but maybe want to change their direction and go through more historic preservation of their building. What's the process of switching through in the middle of the process, but also to have the conversation of what this board, what plans we want to have, or what direction we want to go with this RDA money that we're in charge of. So that's kind of my thoughts out there.
Thank you. Anyone else, questions or comments? Member Bridges?
I don't have anything. I did not find anything objectionable. I found it pretty clear, having been involved in this agency for a year. However, and I do understand, going back to the previous situation, why in the middle of this process would say, gee, it would be nice to do the other, but I don't have another 3 months to go through a whole new process. I said, I understood that we were reading through this, which I did, and like I said, I find the mission to be appropriate. I find the wording to be appropriate, and I wasn't sure what it was we were going to end up discussing, honestly, whether there was something particular that was objectionable that we might be discussing at this point, so that I could have put in extra time to look up something or the background on something. And like I said, I don't find anything in here that's inconsistent what I think an RDA grant is, what the grantees, what the job of the board is, and what the plan is. So
thank you.
I will stop.
Thank you. Member Hoskins, any questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mays answered my questions yesterday in the briefing, and I thank him for that.
Thank you. I would just like to make a note. I think Member Folda brings up a number of good points there. As I've been on council now for about 3 years and have looked into these RDAs, the experience in California, for instance, was they essentially prohibited them. They're not eligible, or they're not possible under the current legislation in California, because they found that they reduced tax revenues to things like schools and public transportation, public safety. Certainly the history of the RDA here in Boulder City has been interesting, to put it mildly. But I agree with Member Folda that we do need to look at this, especially as we look to recover over the next year or two. How can this money be used most effectively? So I think it's a good exercise in reviewing the information. Thank you, Mr. Mays. Councilman Adams?
I was just going to add that I did really appreciate the opportunity to go over all of this material because it's not so readily available, and to get a good understanding of why we do some of the things. Obviously, there's a lot of philosophical questions to be had with when is it appropriate for the government to get involved with providing taxpayer dollars to independent businesses and stuff like that. It's not that it's always a bad idea, but it's not necessarily always a good one too. So there is a lot to digest. So I am thankful for the opportunity to review this and to have these discussions.
Thank you. Member Folda?
Thank you. Director Mays, when does the RDA expire?
It expires in 2029.
Okay, so for the next 9 years, the money that's going into the RDA stays in the RDA budget. What happens after that time?
Any of the money that's not used would be dispersed proportionately to the appropriate taxing bodies.
Does that mean it would go back to which body? The city of Boulder City or?
City of Boulder City, the school district, the library district, the county, the state. So each taxing district has several taxing entities that receive taxes from that area. And so it would be distributed proportionately to the increment that goes to that district today. So back when it was created in '99, you have the different tax rates from the different taxing bodies. They each got a percentage of that, and then that was frozen. So the increment would be distributed proportionately.
Okay. And I know you're not finance, but could you tell me approximately how much is in the RDA fund right now?
Approximately 1.6 million. I don't have it right in front of me,
okay. But annually we set aside how much?
Approximately we receive, and again it's the increment, between $500,000 and $600,000 that goes into the fund.
Okay, and that's probably increasing since there's a development that lies in the RDA zone that would now have property taxes. Storybook homes.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So I mean that's what I kind of want to discuss. In council there is budget money out there that will expire at some point. And I think that within the next 9 years, it would be a good idea to get more community involvement with the RDA, get buy-in from our businesses, from our RDA zone people, businesses that would benefit from the RDA, and help use this plan in the best way possible. The other suggestion I had is similar to what we did with the historic RDA funding. When we went through the eligible and ineligible projects, I would like to see a similar draft done for RDA, where it's very clear what's eligible and ineligible, similar to what it will be basically the same, similar to what's historical, except for, of course, the historic portions of those buildings, and it would be exterior, not interior, like historic was allowed. If we could see something more clear in that aspect, that's kind of the input that I received from the community of, it's RDA has changed over time, so what may have been eligible at some point, may not now, and so to just clarify what actually is the eligible projects.
Chairman McManus, if I could just clarify, and I apologize if the packet, I know there was a lot of material to go through, but to answer that question and specifically as to what is eligible and ineligible is tied to what was referred to as agenda item number 4 from the RDA board meeting on November 14, 2006. And so attachment A, B, and C in that document is the basis for the guidelines of what's eligible and not eligible for improvements, and that's what we've been using since 2006. So certainly, if the RDA board is interested in modifications to these, you have that opportunity to further modify it similar to what was done in 2006. Because they evaluated the previous eligible and ineligible items and made these recommendations.
The board's interested in doing, really kind of cleaning up the language so it's more clear.
I certainly have an interest in that. And I do know that Mr. Mays, and again, I realize it's before the other members were part of the agency, did go through, condense the application, added some efficiency to the process. So I thank Mr. Mays and the Community Development Department for doing so. But I agree with Member Folda that we need to be much more thoughtful on how we use this program. Again, as was just mentioned, we're up to about a $1.6 million amount in the fund, and with 500,000 coming in each year, at least up until now, that means that the money's not being spent. And if it's going to be collected and removed from the other traditional tax purposes, I agree, we need to be much more focused on that. Anyone else? Member Bridges?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Member Hoskins?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mays, and I'm sure we'll be bringing something forward here as we each decide on what we'd like to see happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and again, I realize we're live streaming this. Our redevelopment agency meeting has gone over our period of time here. So we do have a public comment period for the redevelopment agency meeting. This period of time is for comment on any issue. I would ask that anyone who's wishing to make comment for the council meeting, hold off on that, and we will be getting to that matter here shortly. So for public comment for the redevelopment agency, you may call in to 702-589-9629. Again, the number for public comment for the redevelopment agency is 702-589-9629.
Mayor?
Member Hoskins?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I just gotten a text from someone who says the phone lines are not working for public comment.
Ben is working on it right now.
Okay. Unfortunately, it appears we have a technical problem. So we will give it a couple of minutes here to see if we can resolve this technical issue. All right, again, we are currently in the public comment period for the redevelopment agency. We have the phone issue resolved, I believe. The phone number again is 702-589-9629.
Public comment.
Yes, this is Judy DeShane calling. I would try calling before the meeting, and the phone just automatically, it was like it was on an auto answer turned off because the phone didn't even ring. We just got recordings, and Glenn and I have been trying for the last half hour to get a hold of somebody that could get a message to you guys, but it currently is working.
Thank you, Ms. DeShane. Did you have a comment for the redevelopment agency meeting?
Well, I did at the beginning, but that's fine. You guys, it's already over and done, so that's all right.
All right.
I tried to call at the beginning, and it just wasn't available, so and since then I've just been trying to make sure you guys knew that before you start council meeting. And I do not know if there were other people also trying to get a hold of you during the redevelopment, but I'm okay right now. So thank you.
Thank you. Our apologies for the technical problems.
Okay.
All right, again, we are in the public comment period, the final public comment period for the redevelopment agency meeting. If you have comment that you would like to make, the number is 702-589-9629. Again, if you wish to make public comment for the redevelopment agency meeting and the final public comment period, the number is 702-589-9629. All right, hearing no others, we will close the public comment period and adjourn the redevelopment agency meeting. Excuse me. Before we adjourn, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, as the last item for the public comment of the redevelopment agency, I just would like to mention that we do have, and typically we do this in the regular council meeting, but I thought we would deviate just a little bit tonight. We do celebrate, and has been a habit now for the last at least 2 years, special moments in individuals' lives, and there is a special moment coming up in this month, and I would like to ask all of you to join me in honoring and recognizing a very special moment for Mayor McManus. His birthday is coming up. We won't say when, and he looks very young, I'm sure, for whatever his actual age is. So with that, if you would join me in singing happy birthday to him on 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mayor McManus. Happy birthday to you.
And that is truly one of the pleasures of the position, is getting embarrassed on your birthday. So, all right, with that, then we will adjourn the redevelopment agency meeting. And are we ready to make an announcement about the council meeting?
Not yet, because I want to start the stream first.
Okay. All right, we are adjourned for the redevelopment agency meeting, and we will be making an announcement shortly on the council meeting.